ready at home as well. Alright, I stripped my branch and I've just gone ahead and kind of started to add my chicken wire to this. You can just get like gardening mesh as well. This is actually a little bit tricky to work with because of the sharp edges now that I've cut it. So I would say be careful, and if your kids are doing this along with you, maybe you just do this part. Make sure that you protect their hands from the sharp edges. But I've gone ahead and just cut a couple of lengths of twine to be able to secure this now to get the two ends. If you have got some cable ties at home, they would be excellent to use to do this, and you can just snip them. It's all going to be covered by the flowers anyway once we start attaching the foliage and flowers, so you're not going to see it. But yeah, go on ahead and get your chicken wire or your mesh attached to your branch. Put a little bit of twine and manipulated it in a way that it kind of ties the actual chicken wire to the branches so that it can't move very much. And the reason that I've done that is just I don't want to put my flowers on it and for it to start slipping and sliding and moving around. So it's a bit pernickety and it'll take a little bit of patience, but you can kind of manipulate your twine to just go through your slots of your mesh or your wire and really tighten it to the branch so it doesn't move. Great, we're going to move on to the exciting part, which is beginning to dress our branch. I'm going to start, as always, with the base of my branch, which will be my foliage. Now, I'm going to just quickly have a look at what I have. Like, this is so beautifully dry. It's really well dried. Now this eucalyptus, so it's going to definitely feature heavily. I love eucalyptus. I just think it's a real pop of interest in something. And then there's some other green bits in here as well that will pull out. And just, I think what I'll do is I'll go right ahead and separate my roses. Some of my roses, to be honest, in this bouquet are possibly, I didn't maybe get to them in time. They're possibly beyond their best, but there'll be some that will be all right. The trick I always find is to put less water in your roses and let them dry like that, so the water naturally goes out of them and then they dry. Because either I'll end up with too much water like I have in these ones, and I just wasn't paying attention to it. I probably should have put less water in, or I possibly topped it up and didn't remember. Or if they dry too quickly though as well, then they'll really just die. But you kind of want to find that middle ground. So some of them at the back here have definitely seen better days, but some of them are dry really beautifully already, and they will actually give like a deeper colour of red throughout the mix of flowers. So once I've removed my roses, I can see what kind of greenery I've got to play with. There's some lovely berries in the mix of that as well, so I'll definitely add them too. I really like different textures and tones, and yeah. So the berries are going to be really cute. This would actually be a really beautiful like autumnal kind of bouquet, but I suppose then that's why I went and got my supermarket flowers. I just wanted to add a little bit of more springy colours to it as well. So I actually am ending up with a good amount of greenery now that I see it all out together, which is exciting. And will mean that I will need to have a really good full bulked up little branch. So I'll start by adding in some of the bigger pieces, and I don't want it to be like ridiculously symmetrical, but if you ever watched any of my tutorials and I've talked about my wreaths, I do like it to look a little bit more wild. But definitely in something like this, it's going to help to kind of have a centre point and work from there. So I'm not going to worry if it's not identical. If I use this one and I don't have another piece of foliage, it's exactly the same. But I'll just look at it in terms of a whole and how is this coming together. I'm not just going to work on this side and then go to that side. I'm going to probably do a bit here and a bit there. So let's start with our greenery. We'll cut it to size, pop it in, and we'll begin to see it take shape. and you can get going at OT. Which I've seen so many people do, and they kind of do these things called floral clouds. You can look them up on Google. They're really beautiful, or Pinterest. And I would love to be able to do that in our home, but just the way our light is positioned, it wouldn't really look correct. But if you don't have a light above your table, or your light is maybe centered, and you could hang something around it, a really beautiful thing is just attach 2 hooks to your ceiling and then do it, hang your branch from the ceiling and do it that way. And if you're doing it that way, you really can just put flowers the whole way around it, and it can be even wilder. I'm kind of a bit limited because mine is going to be against a wall. So as I poke these stems through, I'm finding that I am just going to have to cut them at the other side as I go, because if they're poking through the other side, it kind of causes the sit out at a weird angle, and I want it to be quite flush against the wall so it doesn't look odd. So yeah, that's just one thing I'm finding, is as I pop these through, cut the stem at the other side and make sure you can get it pushed through right and flush against your chicken wire, but there's nothing poking out the other side. Wire, because I really would have been here all day tying flowers on, trying to get that sense of bulk, and I really have added very little, and so far it's so voluminous and full. I really like the shape of it, and I'm going to be able to add the flowers into this bit to hide the rest of the chicken wire. I don't need to worry about those flowers. It can sometimes get a bit drippy. Being high, the foliage has added the height for me. So yeah, I'm going to keep adding a bit more foliage, and then we'll get on to the flowers. Had taken this out of my bouquet when I first got it. I don't know why, it was reminding me of Palm Sunday a little bit, and I felt like it's not Easter yet. So I've taken it out and just dried it in my utility room. But now that I'm here, I actually don't feel like this would be super inappropriate in this setting. I might add it in behind just for a little bit popping out. I wouldn't want it to be front and centre. It's just not my favourite, so it's nothing about the structure of it, it's more just preference. But you'll know yourself when you go to do this what style you like, what kind of look that you like, and this just felt a bit to me, I don't know, at odds with my very romantic Valentine's bouquet. But I do think a little bit poking it behind might be a kind of nice little soft boho look, so I'm going to play around a little bit with this. Rushes that I found yesterday on our walk at Roe Valley, and I'm really glad I did. I just feel like it's given a bit of context to these. They were still the kind of more random element, and it's not maybe just as in keeping with everything else. But I feel like now they've kind of made sense of these. These don't look as abstract because I also have these, and I personally love that boho look, so I think they work really well. And the colour is really beautiful coming through with all those greens. It's also complementing these little flowers, just miniature flowers on the greenery. So yeah, I think that's a really nice base for what I'm going to add now, my flowers and my berries. But like I said, that's why it's so important to play around with colour and try and see things in the hedgerow and around you in nature that you wouldn't normally think of bringing home and playing about with. But give it a go, because they can just add so much texture and fun to what you're doing. So yeah, let's move on to our berries. The reason I'm saying that is because the flowers are really the kind of big hitter, they're the main event. And so I always like to add my main event last, just because I kind of want to leave, I want to make sure that my bulk is being made up with the rest of the stuff. So I've got 2 stems of these. I think, to be honest, I'm going to break them up into a couple of different stems and add those. So yes, I've just separated these out into a couple of different little mini stems. They're just going to be a bit more in keeping in terms of size with the rest of the piece. But what's beautiful about this is because they've been in the vase, again, like I said, kind of half drying, half decaying almost. There is such a variation in colour. This little group here have gone almost to a really dark plum colour, which is just beautiful, and then these are still nice and ripe and red. And what should happen is they should dry out now on my arrangement in those colours. They should maintain those colours, so fingers crossed, because I think that variety is really beautiful. I'll attach these and then we'll see how we're looking. Bulky base to add your flowers, the main event as such. But I just wanted to say that don't worry if you've got these gaps. We're going to add the flowers in a way that the flowers will be quite close to the chicken wire, so it's going to really very quickly cover up any spaces that are gapping that you might see. But I hope what you've got now is just beautiful, colourful celebration of the hedgerow. That's really, to be honest, that's my favourite part. Flowers are fun, but I think this is just the true glory of nature. So, okay, let's start by getting our flowers laid out and see what we have to play with. Now, I realise that you're quite far away, so it's probably quite difficult to see the full detail of this. So what I'm going to do is show you my flowers laid out, and then I'm going to bring it a little bit closer so you can see some of the detail. You won't be able to see what I'm doing with my hands, but hopefully I've done enough here that you'll be able to understand. So, again, these are the flowers that I got in the supermarket yesterday. They actually, had I been more organised, I could have got them a few days, maybe the beginning of the week, if I was doing this on the weekend, and it would have just given them time to open out. But I think these will open up on my piece, and then some of these are already starting to open out, so they're going to be really beautiful. I think the thing about this too is you have the ability to, once you kind of have your main bulk, this isn't really going to change. Now that'll stay pretty similar, quite dried. But for your fresh flowers, if you haven't got perfectly dried flowers, the thing is you can revamp this and redo it. So depending on whether you get a lovely fresh bouquet of flowers on International Women's Day and you want to use those, you can, and then maybe you get some for your birthday, or you buy yourself a lovely bunch of flowers and you think, I think I would like to spruce that up, change it. You can change the colours for Christmas or for Easter, for Valentine's Day. You can theme it, which is just a beautiful thing about having something like this. It's almost ready to go. You don't have to do very much work to it. Once you've made this part, you can just customise it. So yes, I've got yellows, lovely like lilac-y purples, the lighter colour of roses, red roses, and then these beautiful deep dark ones. And the ones that have dried have gone like almost black. They're so beautiful and dense and deep. And then we've got ones here with the colours coming through. When I first got these, they were quite scarlet red. So yeah, beautiful example, just gorgeous. So I'm going to bring you a little bit closer, and then we're going to get sticking the flowers on. Okay, so you're up close and personal. I hope that you can see a little bit more of the detail at the end as well. I'll bring the camera up and show you just the fullness of this, but I hope now you can see the different colours coming through, the textures, the berries, the little mini flowers, the reeds, the eucalyptus and the greenery, and it's all just kind of creating this beautiful bulk that we now get to dress with our flowers. So I would say start with your more bulky flowers, the bigger ones. So for me, that's my roses. I don't know how this is going to go, to be honest, because like I said, they're not perfectly dry, but they should dry on this then, and they will, once they do dry, they'll pretty much stay that way. But once you can see now what I mean about not worrying about your gaps, because one rose really covers a lot of chicken wire, so don't be worrying about having gaps. This is the part now where you get to cover up your gaps and it will come together and look really good and full. So I'm going to start chopping these up and adding them in, and we'll see where we are from there. starting to just look really gorgeous and rich. The colours of the roses with the berries and the green, it's really beautiful. But the thing I would say to you is don't be worrying if bits and pieces are falling off. This can be a messy process. Pretty much once you set this up on your wall and it dries out, that'll be how it will stay. You won't be filling in with it too much. But yeah, I'm just also changing, like just moving some of that greenery around so it's poking out through the gaps of the flowers, because it's just as beautiful and let's see. So I'll keep going. Notice that it will be important to keep looking at the back to make sure that there's nothing kind of very big poking through, or because it's just going to cause it to sit off centre. So every so often I just have a wee peek behind to make sure that there's nothing too crazy poking out, and if it is, I just chop it right off. So yes, this is really starting to look really beautiful and bulky. I'm going to add in some different colours now. I'm going to add in the lovely kind of springy tones, the purple and the yellows, and just because I think that for me personally, I want to have a little bit of a kind of reminder of spring. But you can do whatever you want at home with your own colours and your own combinations, and that's the fun part. You really get to decide. But if I was to just have wanted to celebrate my Valentine's bouquet, really this is how I would have left it, and I think that that's really beautiful and pretty. But I do want to have some more colour in my life, so I'm going to add the purples and yellows, and then we'll see how it looks after that. Okay, the last thing that I'm going to do really is just have a quick look to see if there's any wee spaces where I can see the chicken wire. Because of where it's going to be hanging in my living room, it's going to be a little bit higher, and because of that you're going to be able to see some of the underneath, not lots but a little bit. So I just want to make sure there's nothing just too ugly and gaping left. So I've held back one little sprig of berries, a couple of bits of eucalyptus and some more roses, and I'm just going to have a quick look to see if there's anywhere that I can obviously fill in. I think it's looking really good and full though, and it's difficult to capture from where you are sort of how intricate and beautiful this is, but I'm going to bring you right up close whenever I'm finished and just show you how beautiful this is, and I hope that if you're making this along at home, you've made something as beautiful too. So hope that whatever you get to make at home, it is a celebration of the season, it is a celebration of the colour that is going to start popping up all around us in this new spring season. But more than anything, I hope that you feel celebrated today. I hope that you do something that brings you joy and that brings you a sense of peace, creativity, and being able to do something for you. Pour yourself a glass of wine or a cup of tea and enjoy making something beautiful for your home and for yourself.